Welcome to Mobil1 The Grid. Coming up today, we're on location in France at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And we're in Italy at the ALFA ROMEO Museum. We get the engine started on today's show with exclusive access to teams and drivers at the greatest endurance race of them all. 1 year ago, Porsche scored a record 17th overall victory at Le Mans in the 919 Hybrid, and reigning champion Nick Tandy was getting ready for the journey from his home in England to France and the home of endurance racing.
It's tough to know that I won't be able to defend the overall race victory that we got, but last year was just the most amazing week and weekend of my career. That place will always be super special to me, so getting ready for the drive down there, and looking forward to it again.
With only 2 Porsche LMP1 cars this time, Tandy and fellow champ Earl Bamber will be racing in GTE Pro, but just being back at Le Mans brings powerful memories.
It was very special to go into the city centre on the weekend and see our handprint being done together. So, I mean, you can never imagine what it's like to win here, and it's always a special thing to remember that you did together for the rest of your life.
Taking the fight to the Porsche races in the GTE Pro class would be the Americans, and not just defending champions Corvette. 2016 would see the return of Ford Motorsport, 50 years after their dominance at the Circuit de la Sarthe.
Well, I guess it's quite simple, right? You're trying to recreate what happened 50 years ago, and you really only get one shot at it. It's almost like a European version of the Indianapolis 500, you know, the historical value that it has and the significance. I don't know, I've been smiling a lot, so that's a good thing.
And this year, it's especially hard and harsh and a brutal competition. There's no quarter given anywhere. Any one of the cars in our class could win. And Ford coming here with 4 cars, it's going to be exceptionally tough.
In the top category, Porsche, Audi and Toyota had all brought new LMP1 cars to this year's World Endurance Championship, and in the comfort of their pop-up city in the Le Mans paddock, 2015 runners-up Mark Webber and Brendan Hartley were gunning for back-to-back Porsche victories.
We definitely didn't expect to take the double victory last year, but we did. Everyone, you know, the race came together pretty perfectly, and I think to win it this year we're going to have to do the same. Looking at the test day, the times between all the manufacturers were very, very tight, and I think that the winner's going to be the car or driver lineup, a team who put everything together, flat out the whole race.
For a driver to drive around here on the limit is one of the best things you can do. And then you've got the camaraderie, obviously, of your teammates and driver changes and all those things, which adds, it's another dimension which we really enjoy. Well, I enjoy. You know, it's that's why it's such a special race.
With a point to prove, 3-time winner Andre Lotterer was confident his new Audi R18 could do the business.
This year we're coming with a brand new car. As you can see, very radical. Their dynamics are very impressive. So for sure we push hard to get back to victory, and it will be a tough fight again, and hopefully with us at the top.
For 2014 WEC champions Toyota, the top spot on the Le Mans podium still eludes them. But with last-minute pit stop practice and fine-tuning to the TS050, Sébastien Buemi was confident that 2016 would be a success.
The team clearly, we've experienced a lot of success together. We became world champion in 2014. We had a tough season last year, and here we're back. Looking after, our first win in Le Mans, we finished second already and third. So we want this last step, on the podium.
After intense qualifying sessions in the wet, Ford placed their 4 cars at the front of the GT field, while it was Neil Yarny fastest in the top category. So once again, Porsche would lock out the front row of the grid. And with qualifying done and a week of media commitments over, the final distraction before race day was the annual Drivers' Parade.
The race is about the fans, it's about the spectators, the people at home. It's just a nice little break between qualifying last night, warm up tomorrow morning, get your mind right and go do some racing.
We actually went for a proper qualifying round already on Wednesday because we thought, let's have something in the bank in case of, and that was exactly the correct strategy. Parade is always a big event. It's bringing the race to the city, and it's always a fun event also for the drivers.
So happy to be here. I thought just a race. I don't know it's that big. It's really, really big. Such great welcome. It's an honor to be here.
We'll be back at Le Mans for race day shortly, but right now we're heading off-road in Sardinia at Rally Italy.
The 2016 WRC had seen 4 different winners in 5 rounds, but reigning champion Sébastien Ogier was topping the table after victories in Monte Carlo and Sweden, as well as 3 further podium finishes. The Italian island of Sardinia was the idyllic setting for round 6, although the tight, twisty mountain roads around Alharo make it one of the toughest events on the calendar. And despite being first on the road, Ogier was once again setting the pace. Keen to add to his Argentina victory, Hyundai's Hayden Paddon was also pushing hard, a little too hard at times. Jari-Matti Latvala had made the right tyre choice, looked to have his VW under complete control. But it was Thierry Neuville who stole a march on the rest of the field, jumping ahead despite an early brush with the scenery. Odd Tanak scored his first WRC podium finish in Italy 4 years ago, but pushing for a top 10 place had destroyed the D-Mac Fiesta's tyres. Later the day, Paddon found himself heading down the Italian hillside, ending a promising run just before the finish of stage 7. It was a big mistake, and there was nowhere to hide. Neuville was still pushing hard. Despite a late spin, the Hyundai driver was overnight leader, 11 seconds ahead of Latvala, with a frustrated Ogier 30 seconds back. Into day 2 and the challenge of the world-famous Montelerno and the massive Mickey's jump, although champion Ogier made it look easy. M-Sport's Mads Osberg thrilled the crowd, catching some really big air, while keen to stay on 4 wheels, second place Latvala was slightly more conservative. Rally leader Neuville completed the afternoon's entertainment, landing safely and without damage. Back on the ground, and local hero Lorenzo Bertelli wasn't so lucky. The frightening-looking accident-injured co-driver Simone Scatolin, who was taken to hospital for precautionary checks before receiving the all clear. The afternoon proved what a car break a Rally Italy can be, as Andreas Mikkelsen and then fellow Norwegian Mads Osberg, who had been fighting at the heels of Ogier for a podium place, were forced to concede defeat. Latvala was pulling out all the stops, but was unable to match Neuville's pace on the 3rd and final day. Ogier took the fastest time on the final power stage, but it was too little too late, a frustrating day for the world champion. 22 months after his first win, Thierry Neuville finally claimed his second WRC victory. Third place for Ogier extends his championship lead to 64 points, but after Hyundai's 2 recent victories, VW know they have a fight on their hands.
Next up, we visit the McLaren Technology Centre to find out what it takes to get an F1 car built and ready for racing.
A Formula 1 car does over 220 miles per hour and 0 to 100 in under 3 seconds. It's poetry in motion, but it all starts with the manufacturing of around 7,000 components. At the McLaren Technology Centre, a 280-strong team are responsible for delivering those parts and ensuring the MP431 is ready to race.
I'm the Operations Director in McLaren Racing. That means I'm responsible for all the manufacturing, supply chain, quality and logistics of getting the parts to the race team. So fundamentally we turn the ideas from the design team into the reality of the parts of the racing car. In terms of parts actually manufactured to date, we've stored just over 49,000 parts and they're all available to the race team. We don't take all 49,000 to every race, so we have to look forward, then the engineers have to choose which options they're going to want, and obviously we have to have spares. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting and fast-moving environment.
Manufacturing these parts requires a highly skilled workforce. F1 components are built using advanced machinery with materials ranging from carbon fibre for bodywork to metals for suspension parts.
For a pull rod end, it would probably make between 6 and 12. The minimum would be 6, because we need to be able to have 2 race cars, a set of spares, and be able to service the parts. It was made of titanium. It's a really highly stressed part. It's been machined on a 5-axis lathe, quite a complex machine. They're brilliant for making complex parts like that. You can pretty much go from a bar to a finished part in one hit. A lot of the car, particularly all the suspension nuts and bolts and wishbones and stuff, it's all lifed. Because the parts are so highly stressed and we don't really want to be carrying excess weight around, we run parts close to the tolerance in terms of their fatigue strength than you would normally on a road car, for example. That's okay, providing you're really in control of the parts, so you need to know exactly what they've done, what loads they've seen. All the life parts in the car have a unique serial number, so we know every time the car goes out the garage, how many kilometres it's run, how many hours it's run, and all that's tracked back against an engineering document for that component.
Parts must be available for engineers to optimise setup at different circuits, and upgrades come online as the season progresses, but there's one component that they're constantly manufacturing.
Wheel nut's something that's evolved a lot over the last few years. Currently we're on T5 wheel nut, so that's the 5th iteration this year. We've made about 200 pairs so far. When the race team are here, we do pit stop practice twice a day with a real car, real wheel nuts, real wheels, full loads as you see at the track. So they do get fairly well used and abused, and eventually they just fail. We can't afford that in a race, so to take that possibility away, we always run with a new wheel nut set for every race weekend.
Component reliability is also a safety issue. In Fernando Alonso's accident at the season open in Australia, the crash structures all performed perfectly to protect the driver. However, the damage to the car had far-reaching consequences for the operations team.
Straight after the crash, we obviously talked to the engineering team about how we can recover some of the parts, and we've pretty much put a plan in place over and above everything that's already loaded in the system. It's not just a quick 2 or 3 days, it's kind of affects you for a couple of months to recover from that. There has been a consequence, it has used capacity that we hadn't planned on.
With 21 races, the 2016 F1 calendar is the longest ever. For the manufacturing team at MTC, it's a year-round operation, and the pressure's never off.
It's just a relentless challenge, but the guys around are used to it. In a way, we kind of enjoy it as well, the challenge of being able to get through that and get to see the parts on the car. I think there is something absolutely unique when you make a finished product. Your connection between yourself and your workforce with the product is different than if you're just making parts for somebody. And when the product's a Formula 1 car that you can actually see racing, it's even better.
After the break, we're back at Le Mans for the Great French Race and looking ahead to NASCAR's first road race of 2016. Welcome back to Mobil1 The Grid. It's race day at Le Mans now as a field of 60 entries sets off for 24 hours of racing. A crowd of over 260,000 race fans was on hand for the 84th edition of the Grand Prix d'Endurance, and they were joined by a host of Hollywood stars, including team owner Patrick Dempsey.
Every time I come, there's just a special feeling here that's unlike any other race.
Porsche had locked out the front row of the grid, while Toyota and Audi were hoping to wrench the lead away from them during the course of the race.
The car is fast, the car is reliable, the car is efficient. So we are confident that with a little bit of luck we can bring this trophy home.
I think all the drivers just want to get the first in out of the way and get on with it and see what everyone's got basically. But Porsche, we're feeling good.
In GTE Pro, Ford were on pole, but everyone was thinking about the changeable weather conditions.
Just waiting for the start here, clouds are starting to come over, so might have a bit of rain at the beginning of the race. I hope for the fans that it stays nice and fine and they can enjoy a good race, but if it mixes up a little bit of rain for us, it'll be a good thing.
Sure enough, the clouds opened and the race began behind the safety car, and for almost an hour the cars circled in formation before the field was finally let loose.
The green flag is out and we're racing in the 84th running of the Grand Prix d'Endurance. The Le Mans 24 is properly underway.
The car soon came in for slick tyres, but it was bad news for André Lotterer as the number 7 Audi lost 20 minutes changing a broken turbocharger. In GTE Pro, it was quickly evident that only the Ferraris had the speed to challenge the Fords, bringing back memories of their fight 50 years earlier. As night fell in LMP1, Audi was spending too much time in the pits and off the pace, so it was a four-way battle between the Porsches and the Toyotas. But this became 3 when Brendan Hartley brought the number 1 Porsche into the pits with what turned out to be a broken water pump. Toyota wrestled the lead from the number 2 Porsche after some impressive stints from their drivers.
It's really becoming like a survival race, so you just need to keep going. And I think it was difficult. So far, I think it's going okay. Yeah.
Many fans stayed up through the night enjoying the carnival atmosphere and the epic race action. As dawn broke, tiredness was beginning to set in, and one victim of the relentless pace was last year's GTE Pro winner Tommy Milner in the 64 Corvette. In the battle for class lead, Tony Villander was just unable to keep his Ferrari ahead of Joey Hand's Ford.
Joey Hand has the power. The blue oval, the Ford GT, goes past the Ferrari and into the lead of GTE Pro.
While chasing to catch up, Villander finally overcooked it, leaving Ford after Joey Hand's lightning stint on the verge of victory.
Like I told the boys before the start of the race, us three drivers, I said, no matter what, we're making history. You know, no matter what happens. So I just hope it's the best kind.
In LMP1, the number 5 Toyota got past the number 2 Porsche with 4 hours remaining, and with superior pace sped away. But the defending champions hadn't given up hope yet.
It's been an incredible car race. I mean, you definitely can't fault that. I mean, the two Toyotas and sister car, the number 2 guys with Mark and Romain and Neil. We would love to have made it a 4. Then obviously the water pump put paid to that, so we lost a lot left of that. So now the focus is getting the sister car on the top step somehow.
And then, in an extraordinary and cruel twist, the leading Toyota lost all power on the main straight, with Kazuki Nakajima helpless.
Nakajima has been robbed of the victory with 3.5 minutes left. It will be Porsche's victory. This is disaster and tragedy for Toyota.
Porsche's 18th victory confirmed, with Neil Yarni, Mark Lieb and Romain Dumas celebrating.
I feel sorry for them, because for sure they also need the victory. They deserve it. But it came to us, really, we have to say it like that, it came to us.
In GTE Pro, the number 68 Ford confirmed first place ahead of Ferrari, and with 3 of their cars in the top 4. But the overall victory at the 84th Le Mans was Porsche's. From record-setting Porsche, we turn our attention to one of Italy's most loved car manufacturers, Alfa Romeo.
The iconic Italian marque Alfa Romeo has been producing glamorous cars and gracing racetracks for over a century. To showcase the brand's heritage, the recently revamped museum provides a place where car enthusiasts come to get lost in a collection of Alfa's prized pieces.
To speak about the history of a car manufacturer like Alfa Romeo could be boring if you consider cars just objects, just tools. But if you start considering cars like the mirror of a nation, of Italy, we can find important moments of Italian history, of Italian culture, of Italian art. This museum became something really different. We wanted to create a story speaking about cars, speaking about people, about the plans, about the victories, and also about the difficult periods of Alfa Romeo.
The pride in the badge is not just limited to road vehicles. Alfa Romeo's impact on the motorsport world is second to none, starting in the early 1920s when Ugo Savocci drove the first car with the iconic quadrifoglio symbol.
Alfa Romeo and motorsport are the same thing. In 1925 won the first World Championship for a Grand Prix car. Grand Prix Formula 1 was born from that championship, and then in the 30s, in the 40s, dominated sports races like the Italian Mille Miglia and the Le Mans 24 Hours with 4 consecutive victories. And so Alfa Romeo was able to win important races when the races were important.
A golden era in Alfa's motorsport history was in Formula 1 during the 1950s. A pre-war designed car and fearsome driver lineup saw the Alfistas blow away the competition.
I want to present one of the most important cars in Alfa Romeo history and the most important car of a museum, the Alfetta 158, that in 1950 won the first World Championship of Formula 1 with Nino Farina. The car actually was designed and assembled before the war in 1938, and during the war the problem was to survive because of the bombings, and so all the cars were hidden in barns out of Milan. After the war they came back, and in 1950 they were able to win with the 3F team, Farina, Fangio and Fagioli. They were able to win 11 races on 11, and obviously the World Championship.
Another proud moment for the Italian marque was taking the fight to Germany in the competitive DTM series.
Touring car categories was always an important category for Alfa Romeo.
In 1993, Alfa Romeo arrived in Germany with 155 and the team of Nicola Larini and Alessandro Nannini. And Larini won the championship with a record of victories. Alfa Romeo was able to beat the competitors in their house in the first year of racing.
Still producing beautifully crafted cars, Alfa Romeo may not be involved in major motorsport at the moment, but who's to say this sleeping giant won't make a comeback?
I can't speak about our programs for the future. I can speak about the importance of Alfa Romeo in motorsport. Motorsport is a part of Alfa Romeo, and Alfa Romeo is a part of motorsport. And so, as an Altista, an Alfa Romeo enthusiast, I really want to see Alfa Romeo coming back on the track in an Italian way.
We end today's show in California, home state to 2014 NASCAR Sprint Cup champion Kevin Harvick, and scene of the next race on this year's schedule.
There are just 2 road courses on the NASCAR calendar, Sonoma, California, and Watkins Glen in New York State. They require a totally different setup to other race weekends, not least because the drivers get to turn right. Kevin Harvick is looking for his second win of the season as NASCAR heads west.
I think there's 4 or 5 tracks on the schedule that I haven't won at, and Sonoma being one of those tracks in my home state. Usually we have a lot of family and friends come to that particular track. I've been fortunate to win in pretty much every other division that I've ever raced there, and I've started racing there, and I think in 1994 to go back there and have another chance to try to get to victory lane is going to be fun, and that particular track in itself is a challenge for the drivers to drive, and a lot of fun to go back and kind of get that first road race in for the year.
Though Harvick has never won a Sprint Cup race at Sonoma, he has won at Watkins Glen, so has no problem racing on the road courses. His teammates, Tony Stewart and Kurt Busch, have both won here, so Harvick will definitely want to tick this one off his list.
I enjoy road racing. For me, I grew up racing sit-up sprint go-karts. Everything we did was on road courses. I wish we had more road courses just because I enjoy the challenge of road racing.
Next time, we meet the mastermind behind Ford Le Mans success, and we look ahead to the British Grand Prix. Meanwhile, join us on YouTube, Twitter, and our all-new website for more exclusive coverage of the 84th Le Mans and for the best writers on the web. Mobil1TheGrid.com is your home of motorsport online. See you next time.